Christmas! Happy Hanukkah! Welcome back to Code 4. Today, it's right before Christmas, and so I thought I would do just a little holiday Code 4 podcast because, it was right before Thanksgiving, and I was thinking, gosh, sometimes the holidays just suck. And not for, sometimes they just suck, period, because of everything that, the rush and parties and obligations. But, I think sometimes, as first responder families and couples, it can be challenging because you don't have the time and people, you see families being together and holding hands. I will say, what I was really impressed with when I was watching football over Thanksgiving weekend, good God, so much football. So when I was watching football over Thanksgiving weekend, they kept running this ad, I think on NFL. I can't remember if it was NFL or college, but they kept running it. It was like, thank you for all the first responders, and they included the ER as well, like nurses, doctors, firefighters, paramedics, EMTs, and of course the police. But they were running it and they were saying thank you to all those first responders that can't be with their families, da 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 da. And I was almost in tears, like, oh man. I will tell you that in my years of being a spouse in law enforcement, I have never really experienced what I've been experiencing over the last year of recognizing that our first responders here at home, part of my intro is hometown heroes safe, right? So our hometown heroes are there on a daily basis. We have our military, God bless them, and all the spouses that have people deployed too. But just the recognition that there are a lot of families out there that are impacted to keep everybody else safe, that just really touched me, to think that that was something, a movement, if you will, that's happening. So I kind of wanted to, I hope you've seen that. I know at Thanksgiving, there was also an Instagram post that was getting shared around a lot, and also on Facebook, and it had a picture with all the first responders, says thank you to all those that are working. So, as a spouse, that's really cool for me, because it's okay, I think there's a little bit more understanding. I think we have our own grief as we go through the holidays, especially if you're a new spouse. Sometimes I think as the years go on, like I said, I've been doing this 17 years now. As the year goes on, I'm like, meh, okay, another holiday, it's okay. I think before I used to get really emotional about it, but I think you have to honor your own grief that comes with maybe the dreams that you had for what you wanted as a part of a holiday, or, I know I've said in other podcasts before, my husband has said the worst day is Christmas Eve. The worst evening is Christmas Eve, sitting in the car, knowing that people are in their houses, doing his own thing. And I think it's a little bit different for fire, because, they could be at I call it the firehouse. They could be at the fire station. There's my Southern, right? Be at the firehouse. But they could be at the fire station with the guys or girls, the team, I'll call it that. Whereas police, a lot of times they're out on the street. Sometimes they have a partner, sometimes they don't. But a lot of times they're just sitting in the car alone. Or maybe, paramedics too. Maybe they're sitting in the bus somewhere that waiting on calls, but they're at a different part of the city. They might be there with their partner probably. But it's a little bit lonely, I think, and that's hard. So it's important during that holiday time to keep in mind that both of you are going through a different experience. One of the things that I try to do is to take food up to the PD or the fire department, just to remind them that I've had pizzas delivered because I was too lazy to drive. But you could do something. It's just like, hey guys, we're thinking of you. Oh my gosh. And then there's that thing where people show up with food and they're like, who's this from? because we may not want to eat it. Have we done a call there lately? Okay, and you know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, so, and then there's other ones where it's like, oh, that's from such and such. Oh my gosh, they make the best, whatever. So, you know, anyway, food's a big thing, right? You know, different departments have their own celebrations, which is really cool. Sometimes it's good that they're celebrating with, if you will, their second family, and they're feeling supported. So, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that one. We'll just stop there. So sometimes at the stations, you know, because they're kind of with their second family, they have people that they're celebrating with, and they are doing their own thing. They set up their own traditions. I know my husband's PD kind of has their own traditions that they do. They try to have a family meal, you know, the PD meal together. But you know, part of it just kind of becomes normal. Because it's our normal, and we're used to them being gone already, and so we get used to the fact that, you know, holidays are kind of just another day, except for the fact that they can make double and a half or you know, time and a half, whatever your department pays, which, hey, you know what, that's kind of nice. So it kind of becomes normal to us, but it's not necessarily normal to everybody else. And one of my biggest pet peeves is when people are like, oh, I'm so sorry that they're not there. I'm like, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I am too. That doesn't help me that you feel sorry. And then the other pet peeve for me is when people don't get that they have to be on call, or that, you know, they can't be there at the holiday party. Man, there have been so many times during the holiday season where people say things like, are you sure you're married? Like, this person, really? He's never here. Oh, you have an invisible husband, huh? Shut up. That just is annoying. I don't think people realize sometimes what they're saying. But man, probably at least 12, 13 years of that I got, because my business partner has a holiday party every year, and so I go to her holiday party alone, and people are like, are you really married? I'm like, just leave me alone. And you know what I'm talking about. You know, you experience it. But for us, it's kind of normal. I will say that when my husband got promoted to lieutenant to administration, I thought, oh, this is going to be awesome. We'll have every holiday together. We can travel to my parents. That'll be great. And now he's low man on the totem pole for administration. Like, as a sergeant, he had a little bit of pull because he could, you know, take time off, get somebody else to cover. But as a lieutenant, like, he is low man on the administrative totem pole. And so everybody who can answer a call takes off, and he's left. And so he has to stay in town. And yes, I'm complaining. I get it. Some of you don't get to see your husbands at all. But, you know, there's that dream of for me to go down to Austin and spend time with my family, but he can't. And it's really hard sometimes when people don't get that. Like, well, I don't understand. I thought he was a lieutenant. Why can't he come down? Well, because he has to be on call. And driving 4 hours isn't really an immediate response. So anyway, yeah, it's... And even sometimes at Christmas time, you know, they try to, I think a lot of spouses try to accommodate and figure out some way to be there during the Christmas day. But even so, they still need their sleep, because the fact is that a lot of times they're having to go back on shift. Or maybe they ran late. You know, Christmas is really quiet, thank God. I should be like knocking on wood right now. Christmas is usually quiet. It's New Year's Eve. That's like, we call it amateur weekend or amateur day. But Christmas is usually pretty quiet and pretty still, and it's pretty nice, but they still need their sleep. So, I tell you all that to tell you this. Here are some things that I think help during the holidays. The first thing I would tell you is to plan ahead. If you know, as soon as you know what the shift is going to be, try to plan ahead. Talk about what times people are going to be available. Talk about what kind of food do you want. Try to plan ahead as far as what that's going to look like, and put it on the calendar. The next part would be determine priorities. And I think this is really, really, really important. So determine the priorities. So when you're considering the holiday, what part of the event, if you will, what part of the holiday is the most important? So is it the religious aspect of it? Is there ceremony that comes along with that? So, over Hanukkah, you have multiple nights that you're celebrating. Is that the most important part, that you're there for the lighting of the candles? Or is it important that you go to church? Is there a specific time that you really like to go to church? Is it more important to go to the midnight service than it is the 7 o'clock in the morning service? Is it more important that your spouse be there for the service, or just that you go to a certain time? Determine what the priorities are, because they can be anything. Is it important that you sit down to dinner, breakfast? Is it important to have a certain time to open presents? And then does that time, do all the presents need to be opened together? Do the kids get to get up and open them without you? All of this stuff needs to get talked about, because what one person thinks is okay might go totally against what the other person is thinking. So think about what's really important there. Refer to previous podcast and think about compromise too. So what is the non-negotiable? If my non-negotiable is to go down to Austin, I am probably going to fail, because maybe, but it might be that we have to go down there, on a 2 days after Christmas when everybody's back to work. If that's what's really important, then I've got to really have some compromise in there. So think about what your priorities are, talk them out, listen to what's important and why it's important, really hear what's important to each other, and then try to figure out how you're going to honor what's important and what you're willing to give up and compromise on. So I think that's really, really important when you're talking about holidays, because everybody celebrates them different. Everybody has a different idea. The other thing that I think is really important is, what traditions do you have? I think it's really important as a couple to have your own traditions, and your traditions are going to look different than a couple that doesn't have a first responder in it and can be there for the holidays. So your traditions are up to you. So that's how our Friendsgiving came about, was that we put it on a day. If he was working on Thanksgiving, we put it on a day when we could have a celebration together with our friends. And it came about. Some of the other traditions, one of the traditions that my husband and I both have had for a while is, most of the time I wind up going down to Austin on Christmas Eve and coming back Christmas Day, and celebrating Christmas Day with him. If he's working, normally I've gone to go see my family, and that's just kind of been a tradition that way I can be with him, but also be with my parents and my brother and his family. Another tradition that is really important to us is stockings. I don't know why I love stockings so much, and it was really interesting when my husband and I first got together, and my mom gave me my old stocking that I had since childhood. And so I had my stocking, and I said, well, where's your stocking? And he showed me this really dinky stocking. I'm like, wow, your stocking sucks. You don't get crap in your stocking, do you? So I made him a stocking. I went to the fabric store and got like mossy oak camo stocking, well, not stocking fabric, mossy oak camo fabric, and I made him a stocking out of it and put it in glitter, and I did that for our dogs. So, but I took my stocking and made that the pattern for his, because I thought stockings are just like the best. I don't know why. They just are. It's just like shove a bunch of stuff in there. So we've made stockings a huge tradition. And that's something that's really important to us. Like, I don't care if there's anything under the tree as long as we get to, or when we do it, as long as we get to share our stockings together. It can be, traditions can be anything you want them to be. But talk about what traditions you would like. Do you want a candlelit dinner with just the two of you? Do you want to, I was reading online, somebody said that they go on patrol with their husband if he's working on Christmas, so they can spend it together. And I thought that was really cool, because you can, do a, what do you call that?
Ride along.
A ride along with it. So yes, you can do a ride along, but that's what she does, and I thought that was really cool. So think about what traditions are important and what you both need. Be sure to talk about priorities. Plan ahead as best you can so you can make sure that your holiday time is the best possible given the situation. So I hope y'all have a great holiday. Like I said, Merry Christmas, and take care. Wishing you peace over the next couple days during Christmas. So take care and keep everything Code 4.